after that School of Rock interlude.
Yeah.
We are heading to the new segment, and that is a play on a famous British TV show. So we're keeping it relevant, and it is Wildy's Would I Lie to You? So without further ado, Joe Wild, take it away. What are we playing?
Fantastic. So I have 3 stories for you guys. Three short stories, promise. And you have to decide whether they're true or they lied. You're all going to get 1 question each per story to ask me to try and decipher on my poker face, is it true or is it false? Now, if it's true, at the end, obviously, I'm going to hold up this Paul Pierce jersey to show the truth of what it is. Now, if it's false, I wanted to get something to do with Anthony Bennett, but I obviously don't have an Anthony Bennett jersey, so I'm just going to put my thumbs down. That is going to be how we're going to determine it. And if you guys are ready, I'm going to start you off with my first story.
We also discussed Kwame Brown for lie as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. That was just another.
Anthony Bennett's way worse.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Right, yeah, well, I'm ready, man.
Absolutely. All right, okay. So, story number 1. On a night out on a Saturday night, I was going out with a big group of people. I only knew one of them really well, and he was the host. Anyway, we went out, had a good night. Don't remember all of it, obviously, one of them. And then wake up the next day, and one of the people in the party, we were all together, we all stayed at the same house, piped up and said that there was a basketball tournament going on. And he asked the host if he wanted to go down, and he said, look, I'm really not that up for it, but Wildy would be. So he asked me. I drove down with somebody that I had only met like 12 hours before. I drove down, we played a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and we won it. And the drive with this, I was one-on-one with this person for an hour and a half drive. I'm going to stick the same order for every single questions, and I'm going to start with, let's go 6th man, Alex. You start with your first question.
Can you tell us the name of the person who was like the third wheel in this new person you met? Was there anyone interlinked?
Who the third wheel was? I can tell you that the third wheel was one Samuel Foley, who we will one day have on this podcast for a Grizzlies chat, I'm sure.
Okay.
Right.
Where was the tournament?
I won Brighton Beach.
On the beach?
Yeah. Beach courts, Brighton. It was a basketball tournament.
Yeah, this guy's good. This guy's real good.
Man,
guy knows
this
what he's talking about.
Reversing his answers.
Yeah, no, I'll elaborate. So there was a guy that was trying to shoot a video. I'll be totally honest. I don't know what his video was about. I've never seen the footage, any of that. But there was a tournament. They had guys wearing GoPros on their chest and stuff to video it all. But yeah, that was the real purpose for it. But yeah, George, you're next.
Can you remember the final play of the final game?
Give edge and
Final
forward.
play of the final game.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I can tell you that. Of the 3 players, although we all held our own, I was probably the worst of the 3 in terms of performance of that day.
But you can't remember any like highlights of the final game or something?
Well, I mean, this was a thrown together tournament on Brighton Beach, so I mean, it's not like, you know, there was no big crescendo. It's just like it was a bit of a grind.
Like what? I understand you.
Jordan's good cop. He was bad cop, and then he went back to good cop.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt.
Do you remember people watching you, and if anything happened with you with the crowd?
Yeah, so Brighton Beach is a really interactive court. It's really, really cool. There's plenty of people. There were people who are playing because everyone was watching everybody in between games and stuff like that. And, you know, it was like first to 11. And you get the odd like tourists. So many people walk along the beach. You get odd tourists stop and stuff. But they mainly stop because it's weird that there's a basketball court on the beach in England, as opposed to them being fascinated or impressed by my abilities. Ed, fire.
Where was the party that you had the night before?
So the house and the host was Shepperton, but we went out in Kingston.
Shepperton. So is Shepperton an hour and a half away from Brighton Beach?
It actually is, Ed. I can confirm it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay, cool.
Oh, I've had all week. I've had all week. There's none of that.
It was a tournament, a basketball tournament.
I was hoping I would win on logistics, but it didn't work. Anyway.
Nope. Did I mention I play basketball? Thumbs up for true. Thumbs down for lie.
Can you give us a
counter?
counter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it had to be. It had to be.
It's true, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great. That's a loss in the loss column.
Who was it? Because my
Ryan
thing was
Ferguson.
Ryan
was
the guy
that I met.
Why on earth would you go out in Kingston and only know Foley?
Because it was the first time I met his uni lot, and Ryan Ferguson was there. Story number 2. So obviously I played basketball ever since I was 12. My main stint of team I played for was the Working Blackhawks, and you'd always have an award ceremony at the end of the year and all the rest of it, as you do. And this was I was under 16s, okay. And at the end of the award ceremony, you've got under 12s all the way up through to under 16s, and at the end you have a free throw tournament after all your awards are given out and everything like that. Now, anybody who's ever played with me, you know that you want me to be a shooter more than driving into the hole. However, I was pretty hot this time on my free throws, and I managed to get to the finals. The person I was facing in the finals was, bear in mind, I'm on 16s. It was under 14s girl.
What's surprising about that?
Well, hey, you like to determine that. All right, so yeah, same order. Alex, you go.
Can you replicate a shot?
Her shot.
Yeah.
It was kind of it was good form, man. No, she won. So it was a bit like weird. She kept it. It was real low. And she brought it up. I don't know if you've ever played with Tim Duncan on 2K10, but it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
So she sort of started with her toes inwards, and as she released, there was like just a teensy hop, and it went and shot it up as she released it. Because I mean, she's under 14s girl, so even under 14s boys, they've got to they don't always have that arm strength to like get it all the way every time without a jump, you know. Right.
So I'm assuming as part of this tournament, you had to like make X. Like you basically had to make pretty much all of these in a row.
Yeah. It was like,
how many free throws did you make in a row?
So it was kind of like, it was more like killer. So there was a huge line. But it wasn't like, I'm not saying it was live like that. It was like,
if you just had to like...
Yeah, so the only way to guarantee you're getting on is by making it. So if I miss and the person behind me makes it, I'm out kind of thing. But there was no like rush to it because it would have just been chaos. It's like 50 kids. So yeah, that's... So
okay, so not like, how many free throws on the day do you think like ballpark?
Jesus. I would have made about 25. Not in a row, but just like I would have had 25 by the time the final came. Jordan.
no questions.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Trying to
Oh.
suck it out.
oh.
Feeling confident, boys.
All right, okay.
I'll come with mine then, since I'm next.
Yeah, go on.
So you say you were a runner-up to this under-14 girl, yeah?
Yeah.
What was the prize for finishing in second place?
No prize for finishing in second place, unfortunately. However, the prize for winning in first place was a box of Krispy Kreme original glazed donuts.
Oh no. Oh, that's really annoying.
Yeah, I was angry, bro, and I can polish those off.
That's helped my decision. Thank you.
Okay.
My question, this seems very boring. No one's going to be sitting around watching 50 people take free throws. How long did it last? And like, when did people start leaving? Because I just imagine how far, like, do we really have to do this? Like, I don't imagine it lasting that long and people wanted to continue.
Didn't last that long. It was about half an hour. When you have that many kids and they have to hit free throws, and it's the weekend and they just kind of want to get home, they're not that invested. So a lot of kids missed quite early on. As I said, I'm not that great of a shooter, so it's not super impressive that I made the finals. It's just a funny story that I got beat by an under 14 girl.
I've got my answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. July.
Ah,
Oh wait.
Alright,
Yeah.
boys.
So
I won the tournament. No, I'm kidding. I'm only joking. I didn't win it.
I was out first. So who guessed true? I was wrong. Who else?
Oh,
Me and Matt.
me and I got it
oh
right.
man, I had confidence as well.
yeah.
was
You no questions.
Yeah.
I was sure it was. What gave it away for me was when you said there was no prize for second place in a tournament for kids. You're telling me a kid who finished second place, they're not getting any prize whatsoever.
You were that kid who was always upset when they lost, weren't you, Matt? You were like, no prize.
Don't let the secret out.
I'm like under 16s. I guess there were loads of other little kids, sort of thing. But it's like, you know, this tournament is an actual thing. Like, I didn't make up the whole scenario, but like the fact that yeah. But you're right. There probably was a thing for second place, but I wouldn't know. I didn't get there. So, story number 3, a lot less elaborate. But basically, so when I first became a basketball fan and I started properly following the Hawks, we had Joe Johnson, we had Josh Smith, Jamal Crawford. We had a really built team, even though we only got the 8th seed somehow. But point being, Josh Smith was my guy. You know, he was a lefty like me. He could dunk without palming the ball. I also can't palm the ball, so it gave me some hope to be able to dunk it one day. Hasn't happened yet. I basically loved Josh Smith at the time. Obviously, for people who don't know, that ended a bit sour. He started just trying to become a three-point shooter, and it just didn't work. And he wasn't even taking good shots within the flow of the offense. It was really bad, and it got to the point where if you're watching an Atlanta game and he would be booed off the court, it was pretty rough. It really pissed me off because he was my favorite player, but then it just ended terribly. And during the stint of that, I got a Josh Smith jersey. My dad bought me one. It was awesome. I loved it. Anyway, I put it away after I fell out with him. And years pass. And then we have a man named Damari Carroll who shows up for us, Junkyard Dog, who ends up having an amazing postseason with us, and takes an Indiana team, which eventually goes to the conference finals, ends up actually, we give them a run for their money in a really good series. That's also the team that Perantic was on, for those that don't know. Perantic Express coming in there. Anyway, Junkyard Dog, Damari Carroll wore number 5, the same number as Josh Smith. I then proceeded to get that piece of cloth like printed with Demarai Carroll's name, and then I sewed it onto this Josh Smith jersey, but it was terrible because the jersey wasn't like full quality anyway, and my sewing skills suck, and the whole name and all the rest of it was wonky and just terrible. So I am now the owner of this once Josh Smith, now Demarai Carroll jersey. I don't wear it. And that was a lot of effort. I was a kid that didn't drive, and I had to go to a fabric shop. I had to go to the printing shop. It was only one thing I've ever sewn. All right, Alex, you're first.
Was any other player in contention for the changing of the jersey?
No, because I was high up off of Demarai Carroll, and he kind of played like me.
So you were really lucky because Demarai Carroll's name is longer than Josh Smith, so it's actually overlapped here.
Exactly. Yeah, I had a lot of thought went into it. Trust me.
How much was the fabric? Like, I know fabric's sometimes not that cheap.
Yeah, it was, but bear in mind it only kind of had to be like that big.
Yeah.
That for as long as you could see that.
For our viewers.
It only had to be so big. So the fabric, you're right, fabric is not usually very cheap, but they were actually really nice to me. Like they tried to sew it in larger batches, but because I was just killing his bike with a really weird request, they just sold me like a patch basically, and it cost me like 12 quid.
12 quid? Jesus, that's
still bad, but it was like thick material. It had to be like on a jersey. It had to be if it was going to survive my sewing, it had to be robust. John.
So when you went into this shop, you knew the fabric you were looking for, right?
I just knew the colour.
Or were you just kind of lost in the fabric?
I just knew the colour because obviously I knew what the colour of the jersey was, but I didn't know for sure what I was going to be buying. I didn't go up and say I need this type. There was a lot of this.
And they showed you around and did the whole testing thing and said.
And then they were gone, and then they vanished. Just like, they locked the store after he left.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you. secret hatch with all the fabrics.
Yeah.
For Kingsman.
I can, Go on, Matt. What are you thinking?
Oh, I've got a few questions I want to ask, but I'm limited to one. When you obviously stitched the fabric on, and they printed it, the new name.
So I printed it separately. So I got the fabric, told them to print the name on, and then I had a piece of cloth with the name on, and then stitched it on.
What was the name of the fabric cloth shop?
I cannot remember because it's closed down.
It doesn't exist.
Because it was in Staines and it closed down because a fabric shop in Staines.
Because no one goes to a fabric shop.
because everybody was rushing.
Nice to me about how much they sold me.
The reason it closed down is because they got wise to this whole Demarai Carroll. A lot of kids were doing it.
Yeah. They found out Demarai Carroll got a massive contract in Toronto and didn't live up to it.
So I'm not sure if there's the elephant in the room. The one thing I just don't understand. So you went through all this effort. Why didn't you get someone to stitch it for you? Why did you stitch it yourself?
It's a good question, but because I don't really know anybody that could stitch it for me.
But you managed to find a fabric shop. Surely you should be able to find someone that you could have asked around. Like, it sounds like you didn't try at all.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I think you're right. I didn't really try it. I could have got them to stitch it as well, but when I found out that it was 12 quid for a little patch, I was like, I can't really spend more money on this.
See, here's my issue, because I'm obviously going to say it's false, but then you're going to whack out the jersey and we'll be like, fucking idiot. But yeah.
Who knows, man?
Voting time.
So, y'all ready? 3,
Yeah, I'm at the brake glider.
2, 1, show.
He's bringing out the jersey.
No.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. There it is.
Oh my god, it's the worst thing ever. It's by far the worst thing in my wardrobe, and that's saying something.
I can't believe you ruined the Josh Smith like that.
Oh my
Perfect, man.
God.
It's beautiful.
Turn around.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Oh,
It could have been worse. He could have spelt the name wrong.
Coral.
Who's Coral?
Laurie Coral. Oh god damn it. So yeah, I'm afraid I am the owner of this terrible jersey. Come on, go 3 for 3.
no, because me and Matt got it right last time, but we got it wrong this time. So like we flipped the second and third round.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Oh god damn it. Well, yeah, that wraps up Wildy's Would I Lie to Yous. Very good game. I like the questions. Hopefully that you like the stories. Because it's a bit wacky and a bit weird. But it's like yeah. So yeah, until next time.
So today we've got a random NBA take, and it's going to come from me this week. And it's something I want to address. I don't really understand the point of All-Stars in the middle of the season. And here's what I mean by this. In what other sport would you have this award ceremony before the halfway point of the season? By the time we get to the All-Star break, only 30 to 40% of the games will be played. And by then, we would have this accolade for about 30 odd players. Imagine in the Premier League, after the 15th game, they're like, okay, cool, we're going to have a 2-week break. And in that 2-week break, we're going to reward 20 players for being the best in the league. What? That wouldn't make sense. You'll be like, it's just so early that it doesn't mean anything. I understand, obviously, the point of having an All-Star break if you've got the events. Maybe actually you should just do it from last year's All-NBA or something like that. But I don't see the point in rewarding someone once you get a third of the way into the season. It doesn't make sense because a lot of players' contracts are based on All-Stars. If you reach certain incentives, you become an All-Star and you'll get more earnings. And also just the voting. I understand, obviously, you want to get the fans involved, but if it is related to your paycheck, obviously you want the best players to be there, not because you play for a big market team who's now just having an okay season and you've got the whole fan base voting for you. So my take is that I don't really see the point in announcing these All-Stars and how they're related to player contracts. I feel that it could be better used, maybe if it was just a break or if you're just to have the All-Star events. It's just my thoughts. I know there's a couple of flaws in it, but I want to hear what you guys think.
I agree. I think tying the players' contracts to All-Stars, which is basically a popularity contest, is not good. I think that they messed that up in the latest agreement they had. However, I disagree that it's useless to have it because it creates conversations. Like All-Star snubs, who should have made it, who shouldn't have made it, who are you picking, who would your friends pick, who would, and then they do the whole thing now where they have the 2 captains pick their teams, which is even better. Like the build up to who's going to be an All-Star is better than the actual game. Like that in itself makes it worth it for me.
That's a very good point, actually. I am looking forward to when the players do draft, but it does bring up a bigger point in terms of just the regular season. You just try to make the regular season a bit more spicy. You try to add a bit of rosemary, a bit of chili flakes, a bit of pepper into the regular season, which can sometimes be very bland. Yeah.
Ed, I disagree with your point. I think what you said is like legit and would make sense, but also another point. Apparently the All-Star format is actually moving back to East versus West, and I hope that's just for this year because the new format is way better. With the whole Premier League and saying that you would take 2 weeks off, international breaks happen all the time and they're boring as. at least with the All-Star game, like Bray said, you've got more conversations, and we have had so much good stuff that's happened. Not just on the All-Star game, but outside of that, like with the dunk contest. Like if the All-Star weekend wasn't a thing, Vince Carter wouldn't be as popular as he is. We wouldn't have seen Aaron Gordon v. Levine. I just think that weekend really sets aside why I think that the NBA is the best league in the world, because it's able to showcase its best talent and have a matchup where the best players get pitted against each other, which is something that you wouldn't be able to see.
I was just going to say, do you think it's been touted before about having like maybe some sort of other tournament or something, aside from obviously the standard like NBA like season and postseason? Do you think instead of say like the All-Star game, they could have say like a mini tournament where they draft, I don't know, like 8 or super teams or whatever, and then they just play one game, knockout until the final or something?
Just because with the limited numbers of the amount of All-Stars that you have, you almost do like a big 3 tournament. So taking Matt's idea, you have a 3-on-3 tournament, much like my one in Brighton. And you go, and then you just have 3 rounds and then a final. That would be cool.
Yeah, maybe. I guess.
You're all touching on a point here that I think the NBA is coming to realise, and we might see some changes relatively soon, in that the regular season is too long. 82 games is a lot of games. And the reason we do the whole All-Star thing, the reason that we're coming up with the suggestions for these little tournaments, is because it gets boring. Compare it to the NFL, like every single one of those games means so much. The hype is there for it. So the NBA is looking for other ways to create that kind of hype. And All-Star Weekend does encapsulate that perfectly. I agree. I think there should be like the playing tournament encapsulates that as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see kind of 72 games going forward beyond the season.
Point of view, like I disagree with it, because that All-Star game, like Alex said, it has so much hype about it, and there's been so many good things coming out of it. In terms of the incentivized part, I think you can see a mixed bag with that, because, you know, I feel not all the players now, as we've gone on, are thinking about, you know, always competing and stuff. They're thinking about more of the resting aspect and changing it up a bit. So I think that incentive helps push them a little bit to like push a little bit more and play a little bit harder as to in comparison to if that incentive wasn't there. If you look at Team USA, as far as I'm aware, there isn't that incentive there, or as big as incentive there with the All-Star game, and now players are just like a lot of them are like, you know what, it doesn't matter if I'm not on Team USA, like I'm fine with it, I can chill. So I think if that incentive was removed, then there's less of that chance of players playing that hard. But yeah, again, I'm not saying that it's perfect where it is. I do agree that there may be changes need to be made in that aspect. But yeah, I couldn't imagine like it without that All-Star weekend altogether, never mind the All-Star game in itself.
Yeah, I think, George, you actually made the point that I was thinking of two words right out of my mouth. Also, the other thing that the All-Star week and weekend allows us to do, and one thing the NBA does better than any other major sport organization, is that they celebrate the history and the past All-Stars, which, you know, no matter if you're an older fan, it allows you to sort of reconnect with that and remind you of where your passion first started from and your love for the game. They're really good at celebrating past stars, and yeah, they always do that in the finals. But the All-Star week is just that time to look at the guys that didn't make finals but were really special to watch and are responsible for the fandom of millions of people.
Last point I'll make, and actually linked to Bray's point in terms of the NFL is still king in America, and it will be king. When you see some of the viewership numbers and some of the revenue numbers, you completely say, "Oh shit!" Like definitely NFL over NBA. I think the NBA could do better tapping into the international aspects, and maybe an alternative for the All-Star game could be the rest of the world versus US straight up. I think that could be really fun moving forward,
that'd be amazing.
especially with the international talent. My only thing is then it does undermine where you go to the international tournaments. I mean, in the NBA, you've got NBA versus everyone else, but then in the international tournaments, it's going to be, US versus everyone else. When you go to international tournaments, it's going to be US and all the other countries. That's just a random last thought I'll leave out there. So that is just my random wild NBA take. I'm not biggest fan of All-Stars and especially rewarding people for only a third of the season. But I hear the points in terms of it does make it more exciting. It's something to look forward to in the regular season. So yeah.
So that wraps up the sixth man for this week. We have gone through both divisions, Atlantic and Pacific. We've also had Wildy tell us truths and lies. And we've also had a random NBA take. Do All-Stars actually mean anything? Anyway, we'll be back next week with a lot more to digest, as I'm sure there'll be plenty more Dame times and buzzer beaters to go around. So we will catch you all next week. See y'all later.
Peace.
Yeah.
Ciao.